So, Chaos Origins has been out for a while, and I've seen a lot of people saying that they want a new updated list. Well, I'm happy to bring it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to bring you my personal favorite list for Chaos Origins, and potentially into the new Maze of Maestro set, where the Toon stuff is going to be coming out, because this might also help against that. Not too sure. I haven't really done much testing against Toon just yet, but I've done a lot of testing with this deck versus Rollad, and I think I've figured something out. So mostly it is going to be pretty similar to the deck list that I made previously, but there are going to be a few updates that I really want to go through because they are quite important for the combo especially. Hey guys, so after editing this video, I decided to take this deck list to my locals, and I wanted to test it out and see how well it would perform against the current meta, and I went undefeated. I'll put the results up here on the screen, but I went undefeated. It was pretty impressive. I think my matchups were against two players playing Sky Striker, one player playing Rollout as Amina, and I think the last person was on Rockets. You know, Rockets, Borals, stuff like that. And they jump scared me by activating Red Ice Fusion and summoning Dragoon, so you know. What I really wanted was to get some practice against Rollout, and I'm very happy I got faced against Rollout. Also, Jason, if you're watching this, I'm still so sorry that you hard opened Mind Shuffle. I'm still so sorry. At full health Rollout player, they played very well with what they were given, and it was a good back and forth. It gave me a lot of the practice I needed. Something I learned though, if you're up against Rollad, DoomZ Raiders is your only destruction for their ritual, your targeted destruction for their ritual guys. Do not go for it unless you have an on-mini gate on the field. You will need to be able to search for Therian King Regulus or get into a Varudris before you activate Raiders to attempt to pop their ritual guy. You can kind of go over through battle, but then again, they've got the BLS guy that's resistant to battle, so that doesn't really work. Try and get an Omni Negate like Varudris or Therian King Regulus up before you commit to going for DoomZ, the DoomZ Raiders pop. Then you're going to be fine. Another side note is I actually ended up activating Vidolian's effect to summon itself and banish both players' graveyards face down. It is very, very strong. Just banishing your opponent's resources face down from turn 3 onwards after going through a couple of copies of Form the Virtuous is very, very powerful. It's going to be very hard for your opponent to keep going into that grind game if they've lost all the resources in the graveyard, because they're banished face down, not face up. Face down, they're gone forever. Well, unless you're playing the new Xenovator deck, but that's neither here nor there. That deck isn't even out yet, so don't worry about that. A very big ruling about Dimension Fissure and different Dimension Ground. These two floodgates say that if any monster card sent to the graveyard is any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Very importantly, if you destroy Jupredo while it is in the Pendulum Scale, Jupredo will still go to the extra deck. This is a very important ruling question that did come up at the locals, and I know a lot of people would get confused about this ruling question. But if a Pendulum Scale is a monster card in the Pendulum Scale is destroyed, if it is treated as a spell card leaving the field. So DDG and Dimension Fissure, they will only say monsters. If they said monster cards, the card would still be banished, because it is a monster card, but it is not a monster. It is a very, very weird ruling question. It's similarly to how when you detach an Xyz material from an Xyz monster, it is a monster card, but it is also not a monster. It's a very strange ruling, but yes, if your opponent activates Dimension Fissure and you've got Jupredo in hand, do not hesitate to just scale Jupredo and use its effect to get rid of that fissure to get the rest of your plays going, because it will still go to the extra deck. It will still go to the extra deck, and even if they like Form the Virtuous, pop your Jupredo, it still goes to the extra deck. So a very important ruling question. Something I really wanted to mention because it actually saved my life against the Sky Striker in one of those matchups. Very important. It saved the game, and yeah, definitely just keep that in mind. But that's enough of me rambling. Let's get on to the actual deck profile. All right, so let us start with the main deck. So we're going to start with our normal summons. So as usual, we're running 3 copies of Alara, 2 copies of Amalth, and 1 copy of Medius Pure. Again, you have to run Medius. It is so powerful. Because normal summoning, it can get you Drupido to help break boards. It can help you get the regular Power Patron to just keep going. And then you can also just revive it as well if you need an extra body to go into a rank 4 or something. So it's really, really good. We're also going to be running 3 copies of Drastia. Drastia is just really, really good. You always want to see it in your hand. Helps you play through a lot of hand traps if you've already got it in your hand. So really, really good if you've got it. Then the Power Patron stuff, 3 copies of Drupido, easily the best card in the deck. I've said that, I've said many times as to why it's the best card in the deck, but easily the best card in the deck. Still baffled that this is a common. 1 Power Patron DoomZ and 1 Vidolium, just the Power Patron cards, small engine. I was definitely considering playing a variant where I could actually play a lot more. Okay, well, I will say, I was considering playing a variant where I could actually maybe summon Vidolium, and maybe I was thinking of playing the Novido, the Archmage Power Patron level 10 one, to summon out the Archmage Non-Finito and get their Archmage Counter Trap. I decided against it. It's too many bricks to be running in the deck, and it's not that consistent. So it is something that I was thinking. To just get like extra fusion materials, or maybe just have it add extra Synchro somehow. And then maybe I could even summon this guy. But with this build, I have summoned this guy. It is doable, so it's definitely possible to be able to summon the Vidolium here with this build. And we'll get to that in a moment. Moving on to spells and traps, pretty standard lineup. We're going to be running 3 copies of DoomZ Raiders and 3 copies of DoomZ Change, along with 2 of each equip spell, 1 Adrastia and 1 Doomderg. Pretty standard lineup. I've seen a lot of people saying to cut either a DoomZ Change or a DoomZ Raiders. No, just no. I would definitely say it would make sense maybe siding out at least like 1 copy of Raiders if you're going second, because Raiders by itself is not a 1-card starter. It needs another DoomZ card to be able to work properly. But it's still a very good card, and you want to run as many copies as possible, especially if you're up against Rollad. If you're up against Rollad, do not take out any copies of DoomZ Raiders, because, very importantly, DoomZ Raiders is the only card in your deck that has targeted destruction, which is very important for the Rollad ritual monsters. Very, very important. So, other than that, other than DoomZ Raiders, all of the Rollad cards are going to be pretty much unaffected by anything you throw at them. So it's going to be really hard to get over them. So, DoomZ Raiders is very, very important for that specific reason. So, be sure to keep DoomZ Raiders and do not slide out any copies if you're going against Rollad. That's going to do for the spells, and that's another reason why I wanted to make this updated video, because DoomZ Raiders is so important versing Rollad. You're probably not going to end up using the search ability if you're going second. You're going to be using it, say, like even popping it with DoomZ Change just to be able to force out one of the ritual monsters. So that's another reason I wanted to make this, because I wanted to cover that. I am still playing 2 copies of Terminus and 1 copy of Vidolium. Terminus, I feel like, yes, it is a really strong going first card. Unfortunately, going second, it's really bad. Like, you really do not want to be using Terminus going second, because it basically just nerfs your entire offense. You can only attack with Power Patron monsters, and it is really rough. Don't get me wrong, it does come up. It does still come up, and it can still be useful if you're going second. Say, for example, if you've used one of your powerful side deck cards and you just can't finish it off that turn, you just go Terminus, banish face down their guys by battling with a Power Patron. Just permanently remove their bodies from the field so they can't do follow-up. So it does come up, but yeah, I think of all the cards, Terminus is the only spell card I would cut down to 2. I wouldn't cut anything else though. Of course, we're running Destruction and the Regulars, basically the two searching endboard pieces. Destruction is still really, really good because it is a very good combo strategy. The amount of times I've gone going second and I would destroy destruction, so I can equip one of my main deck guys. Say for example, I start with Ilara, and then I go Raiders plus the destruction in hand. Say they've like impermed or negated Ilara somehow. I can just go Raiders destroy the destruction in hand to summon something. Then destruction will equip my Ilara with a Power Patron DoomZ or something, and then I can use Ilara's effect to Xyz summon, and then I'm up to the races. So it is the second effect is a sneaky effect that does come up quite a fair bit. So, and obviously it's just searchable draw and Lockbird for the deck. I don't know what else to say. Of course, we're still running 2 copies of Crown. I only have 2 copies. I'd love to run 3, but I only have 2. But one change that I am making from my previous one, and this is a really important one. 2 copies of Fallen the Virtuous. I was heavily tempted to run this at 3. I was very, very tempted to run Fallen the Virtuous at 3. But the reason I didn't was because I did not want to see 2 copies of Fallen the Virtuous in my opening hand. I see 2 copies of Fallen the Virtuous in my opening hand. It is really, really bad. But if I can just see one, I can search the other one later. I can search the other one through Albion, and it's all good. But Fallen the Virtuous is so important because it is basically, if you open this going second against Rollad, all you need to do is just go for access DoomZ, access the DoomZ change. If you can access DoomZ change, this will then force out the ritual monster to bounce itself back with Mind Shuffle. Then you chain Fallen the Virtuous, get rid of the Mind Shuffle now that it's no longer protected by Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. And then Mind Shuffle is gone. Basically, you've removed the body and you've removed their entire bouncing strategy. So really, really strong. Fallen the Virtuous is probably the best non-engine card in the game at the moment. I would say 100%, if you can run Fallen the Virtuous in your deck, run Fallen and the Virtuous. It is so good. But it's not like a broken card or anything. I don't think this card needs to be banned or anything. Maybe like semi-limited. Maybe Albion needs to be banned because Albion's a little bit ridiculous. And then like have people run like Dogma and Dragon Vow's Dogma and Ecclesia or something, and the Ecclesia Synchro. But Albion's a little bit much, but I think Fallen the Virtuous is fine how it is. I think it's really balanced because you have to sacrifice main deck and extra deck space just to be able to play the card. So personally, I think this card is pretty balanced and healthy for the game, but I do see it getting, I do see its corresponding extra cards getting hit on the ban list. Also, a couple of other changes. We are running 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird in the main deck. I decided for 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, I was really tempted to just be running like Ash Blossoms or Perulias, but I figured Droll and Lockbird, it's just a really strong card. I was also thinking of taking out one for a 3rd Fallen the Virtuous and taking out another one for maybe like a 2nd Adrastia or even the 3rd Terminus. But I figured having access to Droll is just going to be so powerful, and it also just means you get to you've got another card that you can potentially side out if Droll doesn't really work into your opponent's matchup, meaning you've got a lot of your going first and going second cards in your side deck to access. Also running 3 copies of Fualos, 1 Bestial Magnemite, and 1 copy of Dimension Shifter. Please Konami ban Dimension Shifter. This card is not healthy for the game. Nobody likes this card. Every time it is used, it just creates such an unfair game state for one side, and the other side is normally just sitting across the table being like, well, I can't play the game, can I? So please Konami, ban Dimension Shifter, and honestly, ban all the other floodgates. Like, ban Spell Canceller. Ban, honestly, also, along the lines of Spell Canceller, Konami needs to do something about Xena. The new Link 5 monster, there's just a hot take right now, I'm going on a tangent, but Xena is not being used for healthy things in this game. And in fact, it is going to be used for even less healthy things when Perfectron Hydrodrive Dragon comes to the game. Xena is probably the least healthy card Konami could possibly have designed. It is only ever being used for 2 things. 1, send Albion to set Fallen the Virtuous. That I don't really have a problem with. Second, send any floodgate to the graveyard so that you can reborn it with Charmer Quartet in blue. Please ban Xena. That card is not healthy. That card should never have been allowed to be printed. Please, Konami, ban Xena. Alright, anyways, back to the deck. Final two cards are just going to be running Triple Tactics Talent and Combat Grave. I feel like if you can run these two in the main deck, you probably should. They're just really, really strong cards. They're just such strong cards. Good insulation for going first, but also good against the right deck. It can really help mess up a strategy going second as well. So two really good cards. If you can play them in the main deck, I highly recommend doing so, no matter the deck that you're playing. Onto the extra deck, it's basically just going to be standard lineups of the Exesis, 2 Dactyrus, 2 Graflarios, 2 Drastrius, and 2 Jupiters. I've seen a lot of people run only one copy of Dactyrus, and I can understand why. Most of the time, you'll only go through the one combo, and if you need to get into a Graflario, you can just use your Drastrius instead. But I still really like the second Dactyrus. There are many, many games where I will be ending... I'll go through the main combo, I'll use one Dactyrus, it'll be in the graveyard, and then I'll end the turn with an Ilara or an Amulf equipped with an equip card, so I can Xyz summon a Dactyrus on my opponent's turn. So the second one comes up a lot more than you might think. Next up is going to be the standard Spring End's Merrick Maker and Champion Sargas, and also Rudris. Pretty standard lineup there. We're also going to be running a Utopic Future Zexal. This card I think is just really, really strong. With the high rankings of Xyz monsters you can get into the field, this card can get astronomically massive. There is one more card that I wanted to bring up, and this is a card that I chose to start running because I thought it would be really good, and also mostly for my local scene, because with the new Legendary Arc 5 decks coming out, Lunalight is everywhere. So I wanted to play a card that would help me defeat Lunalight, and that is Dark Cerebrum Irisville. So, Dark Cerebrum Irisville, you can Xyz summon it by using an Xyz monster that has not used its effects on the field this turn. So, say for example, you Xyz summon Dactyrus but choose not to use its effect, you can then rank it up for Irisville. Whenever Irisville is successfully summoned to the field, during this turn, when your Xyz monsters battle, they gain attack points equal to their ranks times by 100. So the way that you can out Liga Dancers is you just summon Irisville, and then you get into a Drastrius. Drastrius will be protected by a Liga Dancer pop once per turn. Obviously they're probably going to end on like 2 or 3, so it could be a little bit tedious. But you've got plenty of gas in your if you've got plenty of gas in your deck, so you should be able to just keep going. Basically, just you summon Irisville, you get the boost, and then you just summon all your high-ranking Xyz monsters, boost them as much as you possibly can with like DoomZ or whatever, and then just try and battle over the Liga Dancers. Because if you can battle over all of the Liga Dancers and set up even just a half board in the end phase, Lunalight's really going to struggle there. And last two cards, of course, are going to be Albion the Branded Dragon and Ecclesia the Dark Dragon, just Fallen the Virtuous targets. Another reason why Fallen the Virtuous is really good in this deck is because it lets you send a Fusion and a Synchro monster to the graveyard. So if you ever want to be able to summon the Vidolium, if you ever want to summon this guy, now you have the Fusion and Synchro monster access to be able to do so. So this can just, if it's sitting in your extra deck and it's like turn 3 or something like that, you've gone through a Fallen the Virtuous, you've sent Albion, and then you've gone through another one, sent Ecclesia. Instead of using Ecclesia to shuffle back itself an Albion, you've already used your 2 copies of Fallen the Virtuous. You're not searching a third one. You don't have a third copy of Fallen the Virtuous. So what do? You just banish the 2 of them and say like just Dactyrus or something to summon out Vidolium. 10k guy, when it hits the field, banish both graveyards face down. So you're facing Branded. What are they going to do? Their entire graveyard is gone. They can't revive anything off of Quem. They can't fusion summon anything off of their own Albion, the Branded Dragon. So if you just hit Branded with that, this is also if you've used its previous effect, you can make it also have 10k. But it is still a massive guy that is unaffected, a 5k beater. Just set up the rest of your board, go battle phase, and you're pretty much bound to win the game at that point. So that's also another reason I really wanted to run just 2 copies of Fallen the Virtuous, because it means I have less incentive to use Ecclesia's effect to shuffle something back, because then I can just, instead of just using this, why don't I just summon this big boss guy and banish everything from the graveyards instead of just shuffling one singular card back. Plus, it also gets me a big tower, a 5k beater, a 5k unkillable tower. Like, what can I say? That's just that good. It's just that good. But that's going to do for the extra deck. A few texts and strategies I really wanted to discuss because, well, obviously they're pretty fun and they're pretty good. Now, onto the side deck. I really wanted to have a good balance, so I decided to go for my ratio when building a side deck. I personally like to put 6 going first cards and 9 going second cards. And with a couple of... Sometimes I'll put like a couple of cards in for the going second matchup of like a matter of, oh, do I really want... These will be like, you know, situational dependent. Kind of like Drawn Luckbird. Drawn Luckbird is really situational dependent. It's a matter of if you're facing a deck that really dies to draw. But in this case, there's I feel like basically you can put in all 9 of my going second cards for going second against pretty much any deck in this format. For going first cards, it's just going to be 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Solemn Accusation, and 1 copy of Solemn Judgment. Basically, Ash Blossom, the only reason they're going first is just for Charmies. You only care about hitting the Charmies. And even if you do get Charmy, you can just set up a half board and just end on the rest of your stuff. Because the DoomZ half board is still very scary. Like, one Drastrius equipped with a Doomdirk is still very scary. That's like 2 or 3 points of interaction. So, very scary even with the half board, but if you just want to set up the full board and force your opponent to go -1 in hand, there's the Ash Blossoms. There's the Ash Blossoms. We'll move these just over to the side. And then for going second cards, I went for a little bit of an interesting ratio. I went 3 copies of Perulia. Really good because with all the decks at the moment summoning from the hand, Perulia is really good. I was tempted to put Perulia into the main deck, but I figured, nah, it's probably a bit too much. Probably a bit too many cards to be bricking on if I win the die roll and go first. Then we're going to be running 2 copies of Santa Claus. I really like Santa Claus. I don't like the Kaijus, because if I draw multiple copies of Santa Claus, then I can use them all. It's also really good against Rollad specifically as well, because if you Kaiju over their level 8 rituals, they can't use Mind Shuffle to banish to bounce a level 6. So they can't bounce Santa Claus. Obviously, the argument could be made of like, oh, they can just bounce their they can just bounce your Kaiju and then you can Kaiju again. True, but then again, that also brings up the first issue of if you draw multiple Kaijus, you can only really summon one to your opponent's field. But Kaiju, basically Santa Claus is just really, really good. You can't run Sphere Mode or Lava Golem because this deck really needs to resolve a normal summon. It's not essential, but you really want to be able to always have your normal summon option available, either to start your combos most of the time, or just to keep going and keep extending. So you really want to have your normal summon, so you can't really run Lava Golems. Santa Claus, I feel, is just the best option for DoomZ. I'm also running 2 copies of Evenly Matched. This card is just so powerful of a going second card, because all you really need to do, if you hit your opponent with Evenly Matched, if it resolves, your opponent's left with 1 card. Say for example, they're playing Rollad. They either have to get rid of their Mind Shuffle or the Ritual Monster, because the Ritual Monster is not unaffected by Evenly Matched, because Evenly Matched does not affect the cards, it affects the player. That is also another reason why I feel like Evenly Matched is really good. And same with Santa Claus, Lunar Light. As I mentioned Lunar Light before with this Dark Cerebral and Irisfield as well. Irisfield is also really good if you're up against Brandon and you just need to battle over their Dragon that devours the Dogma at 3500. But it's another reason why Evenly Matched is good, because also Liger Dancers, if your opponent makes a field of 3 Liger Dancers, awesome, Evenly Matched. That Liger Dance, 2 of those Liger Dancers are gone. And granted, okay, you might not be able to out the third one through without going battle phase, but you can at least just set up a really powerful half board and just try and stop your opponent from using Liger Dancer to sweep you away. Finally, I'm running 2 copies of Pot of Sloth. Really good, really powerful. I said Fallen the Virtuous was probably the best non-engine card. Pot of Sloth is probably the best side deck card in the format at the moment. I was very tempted to run 3 copies. In fact, I was thinking it was either going to be 3 Pot of Sloth and 2 Perulia, or 3 Perulia and 2 Pot of Sloths. I decided on 3 Perulias just because I felt like having Perulias was going to be a lot nicer, and it would also maybe persuade my opponent to stop comboing off and just be able to end on the half board, and then I can just keep going with all the engine that I have in my hand. But also a huge shout out to Ryan as well. I do have these 2 copies of Pot of Sloth. These 2 are mine, but I did ask Ryan if I could borrow his copy of a 3rd Pot of Sloth, and literally last minute I chose just to cut down to 2 and play 3 Perulias. But still, huge shout out to Ryan for letting me borrow his Pot of Sloth for the playtesting, so thank you, Ryan. But yeah, that I think is probably going to do for this combo and this DoomZ deck profile. Well, I'm really happy with DoomZ. I still think it is a very strong deck to be able to contend in the format. It's still really powerful into Cool Tune going 1st or 2nd. Without Super Poly, you do lose a little bit of the interaction, but I still think it's very strong and very powerful, because it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard if you even it's the same thing basically with Cool Tune. If Cool Tune looks at your hand with Rotary and they sees just 5 pure engine cards, it's gonna be hard for them to try and break through that. You're just gonna keep going and going and going. You have so much gas that Cool Tune, even with their full board, will still be able to struggle if they don't hit the exact right cards. And if you sequence your cards properly, Cool Tune is going to be screwed no matter what you do. No matter what they do. So, yeah, Cool Tune, this deck still has a really good matchup into Cool Tune. Branded is still a little bit difficult. Not unplayable. It's why I've chosen to structure this deck mostly. I've chosen to structure this deck's non-engine specifically for facing all of its weakest matchups. The 2 weakest matchups I would say are Branded and Rollad. Rollad going 2nd because of the non-targeting, but it really does not struggle going 1st. Going 1st, you just set up your full board and Rollad's kind of screwed. They just can't break through that full board. There's no way. And then Branded is going to be rough no matter what you do. That's another reason of just like, oh, you run Santa Claus, you run Evenly Matched, you run Shifter and a Mag in the main, Fallen and the Virtuous as well. You can steal your opponent's Branded cards, I guess. I do kind of miss Super Poly. Super Poly, well, I really like playing it, but I just think Fallen the Virtuous is just so good. It sets up so much more for the deck as well. It also means you can dodge interactions, like you can dodge a Forbidden Crown, you can dodge an Imperm, you can just dodge targeted negation, which is really nice. That's actually been super helpful. I think I had a hand of Ilara, Fallen the Virtuous, 2 Charmies and a Droll going 1st at one point. So I just went normal summon Ilara, they tried to Imperm it, it's just like, okay, Fallen the Virtuous, destroy Ilara so it resolves. Cool. They had no other hand traps. I set up my full board. So it's like it's pretty good. It is pretty good. But yeah, that's hopefully where this deck profile is going to be left off. Hope you guys enjoy. As always, if you have any questions about DoomZ or anything like that, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm happy to share my advice and help you guys out, because quite frankly, I love this deck. I think this deck is really fun, and I think it is still definitely a meta contender. One that a lot of people are neglecting. A lot of people think that DoomZ has just fallen off, but it's mostly just because not many people are running DoomZ. A lot of people have just transitioned over to like Cool Tune, Branded, Rollad, and all these other decks as well. DoomZ is still very efficient, so do not sleep on DoomZ. It is still very, very powerful into the meta at the moment, if you build and play it just right. Alright, that's gonna do it. So yeah, as always guys, if you have any questions about DoomZ, let me know in the comments. Happy to help out, happy to share what I've got, what I know, and help you guys out playing DoomZ. But that's gonna do it, so yeah, that'll do for now. So until next time guys, have a hyper rest of your day, everybody.